All right, so dude, let's just jump right into it, man.
You
You
bet.
you you kind of got this claim to fame from this hybrid diesel electric semi truck, which
I
is
guess.
it's
Yeah.
super badass, dude.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah, so you started developing this thing what in like 2023, 22?
Yeah, no. So yeah, started building this and started the idea in 2021. We built our first proof of concept in 2022, but basically the year after. Uh, yeah, we started December 2021, and then within the first year, we built our proof of concept. That kind of worked crudely, and then we went and built our first production prototype, as we called it.
So the story goes, you just got tired of waiting for Tesla semi, and you're just like, screw it, we're doing this.
Yeah, no, it's it was one of those ones where basically I'm like, well, how come Tesla isn't doing it? Like, I reserved a Tesla semi, like being loggers, saw all the advantages. You're going uphill empty, you're coming downhill loaded for the regen. It made a lot of sense, but after like 5 years of waiting, I basically said, like, fuck you, Elon, give me my money back. I'm gonna start my own company. And I was making TikToks at the time while I was logging. And like I remember saying, I'm like, well, if I had an electric truck, I'd do it this way. Or I'd do it this way. And if I was going to build a truck, this is how I'd build it. I wouldn't do that. And people are like, why don't you just build your own truck? And I'm like, screw it. I will. I will build my own truck then. Give me my money back, Elon, and I will I'll get to work.
That's awesome, dude. So that actually brings up a good something I want to ask you. So like what exactly is a diesel electric hybrid? Like what does that mean exactly?
Best way to describe it is it's like a freight train. Like that's how freight trains move, but what's a good way to describe it? Like it's basically it's a fully electric vehicle that packs around its own onboard fast charger.
So what does the diesel motor do in it?
It just charges the batteries. So you have the range of diesel, but you have the peak power and regen of electric. So imagine like you're driving a Tesla. Tesla gets low on batteries, so you fire up a generator and it recharges the batteries of the car while you're driving down the road. And once the batteries are charged, it shuts off and you keep driving on batteries.
So how far do you get on your like how far do you get from empty to full? Or from
It
full to empty?
depends what you're doing, but with the batteries we got on Topsy right now, we get like about 2 hours
Okay.
if you're just running on batteries.
So all right, so the diesel motor charges the electric motors, and those are all at the tires, right?
Yes, so the electric motors are at the on the axles.
So when you do run out of electricity or fuel or whatever energy, do you go put diesel in the do you put diesel in the and then that'll charge the electric? That's how that works.
You just pull up to a gas station that's got a diesel pump, you put the diesel in the tanks, and then you fire up the generator, and it just basically instead of running a transmission, it just runs a generator.
That's awesome. So I think that like that and so how long does it take like the generator to charge the electric motors?
Sorry, I missed that. The dogs were going crazy. Someone just walked
It's
in.
no problem. My cat's actually right. How long does it take the diesel engine, the diesel motor to charge the electric motors?
So if you're parked, like half hour, 45 minutes or so.
Okay.
If you're running, it depends how hard you're running. But
okay, that's cool.
Yeah, basically, you don't have to. It's not like you got to pull over, stop, fire it up. It just fires up while you're driving down the road and recharges as you're moving.
Yeah, the videos are just amazing, dude. It's just like this like double trailer just loaded with logs just whistling down the street. It's like unbelievable.
150,000 pounds and it just gets up and moves. Like electric kicks ass. Like the problem, like when people complain about electric, I don't think they're complaining about electric. They're complaining about batteries. Batteries suck, dude. Like there's no doubt about it. The batteries are the weak point in any electric vehicle. Like, have you ever driven like a Tesla or like one of those performance electric cars?
I haven't.
Oh man,
I'm not opposed to them, but
you gotta go fuck around with a Tesla. Like, go out to Tesla, take one out for a test drive, and then send me a text text, see what you think. Like I want your actual opinion, because you put that thing into like the sports mode and you launch it and it pins you back in the seat.
Yeah,
I made my mom cry in a Tesla.
I hear really good things about them. I was actually trying to talk my my wife into getting a Tesla for our last vehicle we just got. I was unsuccessful.
Like I said, the only thing that sucks is the range. Everything else on a Tesla is awesome. The range sucks. But if you put a generator in it, you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. So, okay. So in my head, a diesel electric hybrid was like the diesel engine just picked up when you were like running low, but that's like that totally isn't the case. They're working like simpatico, right? Like
Yeah,
you're never, it's never a diesel engine powering the truck. It's always those electric motors turning those wheels.
yeah, the diesel engine does not power the truck. The truck you could take the entire diesel motor out of the truck and the truck would not drive any differently. You would just impact your range. So it has all the benefits of a full, like you have no drive shaft, no transmissions, nothing. You can, if you lose communication with your batteries, you can run it 100% off of the engine and bypass the batteries if you need to, as like an emergency backup. We found that out when we lost communication with our batteries once. But other than that, no, it just runs off the batteries, which is cool because then the government classifies it as a standby generator.
Yeah, that is. So that brings up the motor. You chose a Scania motor.
Yeah, we're going with the Scania now instead of well, we can still get the Cat. So I can still order a Cat or a Scania. We can order each one from either supplier depending on what someone wants, but the lead times are much better on the Scania, and the Scania doesn't have the DPF filter.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, what is it? That's a diesel particulate filter, right?
Yeah.
DPF. And what does that mean exactly?
It means a pain in the ass. So the particulate filter, it just takes, well, exactly that. The particulate matter that comes out of the motor, it captures it, and then it like burns it, and it has to regen and get hot and clean itself out. And if you have issues where you're idling, it plugs up. If it's not running hot enough for long enough, it plugs up, and you got to take it out, clean it. It's like at least like 60-80% of the problems of your emission system. So the Scania you can get by on their bigger motors, no VGT, no variable geometry turbo, just a straight standard turbo, no EGR, and no DPF. All you have is your SCR.
So does that also so do you need to does it require a DEF system then in the truck?
Yeah, the SCR is your DEF. So it still has a DEF, but at least you don't have to deal with regens or VGTs or EGR.
They are annoying. So I used to plow for the state. I mean, we're in New Jersey. I don't know if you even know that, but so like I used to plow for the state of New Jersey, and a lot of times you just be sitting in the truck, and it would be very cold outside, but you'd just be waiting for it to snow. And man, them things you'd have to regen them, and it was just like loud and obnoxious, and couldn't do anything until it was done. So yeah, I would say that's a pretty big that's good that the engine doesn't require that. The motor. All right, so I have a question. You talked about going uphill and downhill a little bit.
Yeah.
And you said that so there's no transmission, right? In an electric motor?
Nope, no transmission.
So how do you you're towing 150,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you're going downhill on a slope like a 7%, how do you control the truck?
The electric motor. So any electric motor, AC electric motor, can also turn into a generator. So basically what you do is instead of the difference between a generator and a motor is which way the mechanical power and the electrical power go. If you put electrical power in and get mechanical power out, that's a motor, electric motor. If you put mechanical power in and get electrical power out, it's a generator. And it still has that hold battery because of the magnet. So what you basically do is you tell the computer that it switches over and you're like, hey, as I'm rolling down the hill, I've got a lot of mechanical energy coming at the truck. I'm going to absorb that energy with the electric motor, and I'm going to put that energy back into the battery bank. So you capture all that energy going down, and then basically the magnetic force of the magnet and the stator and the copper holding back actually holds the vehicle back. So that's how it slows down. It recharges the batteries, and you just turn the electric motors into generators.
So what? I mean, there has to be some type of like the wheels aren't just free spinning though while you're going down. Like they have to like. There's no. How do they? I'm so I'm not like really like a truck guy per se, you know. So like I'm having a hard time figuring out like what happens to like like how the truck is slowing down while you're going on like such a steep slope.
You just
Find
turn
that
your
out.
electric motors into generators, and when you put that load into it, the more current you try and pull out of it, and the more load going into it, the more resistance you're trying to overcome. And you ever try and like push two magnets together, and they like try and like strong magnets, and they try and start fighting each other?
Yeah.
Imagine that, but like in the terms of like thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of watts of power, electromagnetic power fighting each other. So like if you have like two big electromagnetics and you're trying to bring them together and it's moving, and then that friction in there is actually slowing down the rotational mass of those tires and axles holding the load back.
Jeez, dude. That's like super. That's very, very scientific.
that's
Yeah.
that's about as much as I understand it. That's
Yeah.
beyond that.
No,
it's
that's actually a really good explanation. I can that's pretty good for me. Just a Joe, just curious.
But honestly, the engineers explain it. I'm a truck driver, so the engineers explain it to me in like simple truck driver terms, and then I just regurgitate that simple in terms that the engineers told me to use.
Yeah. So you mentioned the AC power, right? AC electric. What is it? AC
Yeah, AC power. You have
AC
DC
power.
power, that's the batteries,
Yeah.
AC, so direct current, alternating current.
Yeah. And that was Nikola Tesla's claim to fame.
That's right.
AC
Yeah.
power. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was
And
fighting Edison.
yeah, that is the coolest thing, man. That is like such a creative name to go with the Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, controversy. I like that a lot, man. I got a kick out of that.
No, thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah. It's funny. There's actually a company, and the parent company was Nikola, and they were also doing an electric vehicle. I don't know if you heard of them.
Oh yeah, that company sucks.
Yeah, they tanked, dude. I had money in that
Oh,
stock.
oh man, sorry, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like they were worth like $40 billion, and now they're like 250 million. And I still don't know how they're worth that. Like
Yeah, what they were doing,
lose
what, the
money on
Badger, right?
every single truck they sell. Like they're only worth like 250 million, and they're spending like 100 million plus a quarter. Like you only have like 6 months of money left, dude. Like what are you doing? And like your stock's not even worth enough that you can raise money. And like and if they get more orders and sales, they lose money on the sales because they still can't turn a profit for the truck. Like how is that company still alive? Like
Are they putting trucks out?
they are, but they lose enough money, and now they're doing the hydrogen. But they also, I think they lose money on the hydrogen they sell too. It's like they lose money selling the fuel, they lose money selling the trucks, they burns through so much money. The old CEO is looking at he's looking at going to prison for fraud because his truck never worked. They released the brakes, rolled it down a hill. They've got a bunch of people that have like in the directors that have no experience with semi trucks, even and like you didn't put anybody on your board that has experience. And for somehow, like I don't know how every investor hasn't fled that sinking ship. But that's just my
I got out in time. I got out before they I got out before that the big wig or whatever got accused of the fraud. So
well, at least you didn't lose a lot. There were some people that
No.
stayed in, and like they were worth like what 100 something crazy bucks a share. Crazy,
I got in before they merged. I was in before they merged with Nikola. I was in with the company before that merged with them. I forget. I think it was VTIQ was the abbreviation, and then they merged with Nikola, and the stock skyrocketed, and I ended up I sold at the right time, but I always kept track of it because I was always like I didn't want to sell like the Tesla, like I didn't want it to end up being Tesla and then I'm an idiot,
But no,
but yeah, it worked out. Yeah.
Honestly, at least Tesla, like they kind of know what they're doing for vehicles. They got some real talented people. Elon Musk, say what you want about him, but like the guy knows how to run a company. Like he can get shit done. Like the fuck? Nikola doesn't have anybody on their board that has any experience in the trucking, and like the senior management, I don't think has any experience in the trucking industry. My lawyer said to use qualifying words. I don't think, and I don't believe, because then you can't be sued because it's my.
There you go, right on, dude. You're catching on.
Oh, we went through a whole thing with a big government grant scandal where this multi-billion-dollar company threatened to sue me because I'm like, I don't like how they're spending government money, and they're like, we're going to sue you. And the lawyer's like, oh, you use qualifying words, so you were just giving your opinion, so you're probably safe. But like, I don't think they have anybody on their board that has any experience in trucks. And like, how are you going to build trucks if you don't know trucks? And we've had investors that have come out to Edison Motors that have tried to invest in us. And we had one, he wanted me to, like, we're a company of like 15 people. He wanted me to hire, like, they were going to invest like $10 million, something crazy like that. And they wanted me to put in like 10 people. Like, you need a CFO, you need a COO, you need a CPO, you need this person. And he's bringing all these people. He's like, meet this person. Not a single fucking one of them had any clue about trucking or ever like worked as a mechanic. Like, no mechanic, no experience in truck manufacturing, never ran a trucking company, has no, like, I'm sorry, but like one guy worked for like basically just an import service. Like he imports stuff from China and resells it. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with building semi trucks? Like, why do you need 10 chiefs if you only got 15 Indians? Like, oh, like it might have been a little offensive, but I kind of said, like, I sat down with them, like, I'm done. Like, dude, we don't want your money. Like, it doesn't matter how many chiefs you put in the wigwam, the buffalo hunt isn't more successful.
Dude, that's I think that speaks volumes on like you know where you're headed and your trajectory, dude. Like that you didn't sell out, dude. A lot of guys would have looked at that number and been like, yeah, dude, yeah, whatever, dude, CFO, whatever, yeah, put them in there, I don't care.
Yeah,
You know, but you stood your ground, dude. I think that's really commendable. That's awesome, man.
Well, like, they'll just do the same thing, Nikola, and then you meet other investors, and they straight up wanted us to lie. Like, there was investors we met with that straight up just wanted us to lie and be like, man, you got to promise that you're going to be 20,000 trucks a year within 5 years. And I'm like, no, we're going to go slow, and we're going to take our time, and we're going to iron all the kinks out of our trucks, and we're not just going to push a truck out to market that's not ready and go down the road where we have to be like Nikola and recall hundreds and hundreds of trucks that you produce, shut down a production line, and like, let's just get it. Let's build a few trucks, get them out there, and like, that's how all the best companies were built. Like, I'm sorry, but the greatest companies we know right now, John Deere, Caterpillar, Kenworth, like, they weren't built by people with MBAs. They were built by people that use the products. Like, John Deere was a farmer, a manufacturer. Caterpillar, Holt, he knew how to run a cat. Like, they just knew what their product was and designed a better product. Like, that's how the greatest companies were built, was by a bunch of blue collar guys doing shit.
And so what is your old day job? You're a trucker?
Yeah, I've been a log truck driver, me and my business partner. So we started up a trucking company, I'll be like almost 9-10 years ago now. Bought one old truck from the 1960s, did a full restoration on it. Then we bought another truck, and started with logging. Then we moved into low bedding. Then we started like with the low bed and moving equipment, started moving generators. I hauled some generators. Then we realized, like, well, you can get more money if you install the generator. So we started bidding on jobs to do the generator install. Then my business partner, Eric, who is the much smarter guy than I am when it comes to all this electrical thing, there was this like First Nation reserve way up north. And basically they were running a 90 kilowatt hour generator. And it was old, it was worn out. It was like an old 350 Chevy that they wanted to replace. The entire community just ran off the generator. So they said, okay, we're going to bring in a new cat. And I think Eric said, well, hold on, like 90 kilowatts seems real big for a community that size. What's the average load? Like, do you have load data? And they got the load data. He analyzed it and found out that their base load was like 25 kilowatts. It was like 5 years ago. So you have to forgive me on the exact numbers. But it was like about 25 kilowatts. That's what their average load was, but then it would spike to 70. Everyone would get home around the same time, fire everything up. You know, you get home, you fire up the microwave, the stove, like everything, the hot water tank.
Yep.
And so that's why they've had a 90. So they could meet a 70 peak load with a little bit of extra capacity. So we said, well, what if we just put in some batteries to meet that peak load demand? And then we put a 35 kilowatt hour generator. You're only using about 20, 25. So if we put a 35 kilowatt generator, that'll recharge the batteries, and then those batteries will meet the peak load, and we'll put in a bunch of solar. So that ended up doing okay once we got her going. Like it took us about 6 months and multiple trips up to like the Yukon to fix it, but we got her going, and it saved money on fuel. It was more efficient. Like it ended up like paying for itself in fuel savings. I think when like doing the math was supposed to be like a year, it was going to pay for itself. Like did awesome. So it was when you're driving back, that's when I started like complaining about the electric. I'm like, man, electric makes sense. You have the regen, you have the peak power, but what if we did like that, those little hybrid generator systems? And we've done quite a few more. I think by now we've had like 15 little hybrid systems for Edison. So they're like, what if we just did a truck that way? The batteries meet the peak load demand. You have the regenerative braking to slow the truck down. And then you just have a generator to maintain your base load. Because it doesn't take a lot of power to move down the highway. Mm-hmm. Moving down the highway may only be like 200 kilowatt hours of power just to keep that truck moving. Whereas when you're starting out from a red light, you may be pulling like 400 kilowatts of power, like almost double the power, 3 times the power just to get that truck moving and up to speed. So let's size a generator, like a nice little 300 kilowatt, 250, 300 kilowatt generator. It'll recharge itself. And that was kind of the basic thing from our background. It went from a trucking company to being like, wow, I can install a generator. Like it's not hard to hook up a fucking fuel line to all of a sudden doing this project work. And yeah. And in the meantime, we still had the trucks, and we basically, trucks are passion. Like we've restored a ton of classic trucks from the 60s and 70s and 80s, like strip them down to the frame rails, rebuild them. Love those classic trucks. So it's like, well, what other people are going to be better at it? Somebody that actually drives the truck, somebody that can install a generator. Like, do we have all of the EV things figured out at the time when we started this? Absolutely not. But there's people you can hire to figure those things out. The key thing about a truck is that it's a truck. All these guys in like Silicon Valley, all of these EV companies, they've approached the semi-trucks as an EV vehicle first and a truck second. Like they've come from the EV side and tried to add the truck side, but you need to have how a truck works.
Yeah, that's that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because I was curious about that too, like how that conversation went with your business partner. Like, yo, you want to just like compete against Elon Musk? He's like, oh yeah, sure, let's do it.
Oh man, there's a funny story on that, eh? I remember I got those hats that said Edison Motors stealing Tesla's idea.
Yeah.
And I bought 40 of them when I first launched it. And Eric's like, why did you buy 40 hats? You're never going to sell 40 hats. And we started it, and you're like, hey, you can invest in the company. For $50, you get 50 shares, and we'll send you a hat. So basically, like, if it doesn't go anywhere, at least you got a hat for $50 and a cool story. And all of a sudden, we had to, like, within like 4 days, we had raised like $400,000 selling hats. It was enough to like fund the whole first truck, and that was an investment raise. So it's like we shut that down, and like okay, like remember looking at them, like the first day was like $200,000 that we raised in selling hats, and like we kind of like we honestly thought we'd have a little bit of interest. It was going to be a fun project, like a good spring breakup project, or like when work was a little bit slow, we'd work on this little truck and we'd make a YouTube, TikTok series on it and show how it all works. And then I looked at them like, man, when we explained how the generator and the batteries work to people dug it. And we looked at them, we're like, hey, we got to make a decision right now. People are supporting this. Are we going to park our trucks, sell some of our trucks, let the logging go, stop doing stop the other part of the business and just focus on this? And he's like, fuck yeah, let's just go all in. And at that moment,
give out some more hats, right? I said, yeah, give out some more hats, right?
Yeah. Basically, we looked at it and we're like, fuck it, let's go all in. Let's just, if we're going to do it, let's go full on and let's do this thing. This isn't a side project anymore. This is now our jobs. And we just went for it, and it ended up being successful. Like I moved into my parents' basement. I still live in my parents' basement. Like no new pickup trucks, no new debt, like absolutely like paid off all of our debt, everything, so we could live as cheaply as possible to both me and Eric living in my parents' basement, trying to get this company off the ground for Edison. And we did it. And
you're in good company, man. All the big companies start in a garage or a basement.
That's what I said. Like, yeah,
You had to stay in your parents'
good
basement.
companies start. They do not start with a bunch of investor money in a fancy office with private jets and a bunch of people with MBAs. Like, that's not how good businesses start. This is how America was built. This is how Canada was built. This is how the good companies were built. And like, we need to get away from this. The amount of shit we have gotten, I tell you, from like actual like investor types. What do you guys mean you're in a tent? That's not very professional. You don't have a professional look. Like, would you rather me spend the money on renting a fancy office somewhere downtown in Vancouver for $40,000, $50,000 a month rent? Or would you rather have me have a $5,000 Ritchie Brothers, take that $500,000 and hire like 4 more engineers, 4 more mechanics, people that are actually building shit and moving the company along? But the amount of shit we get because it doesn't look professional, but like the results speak for themselves at the end of the day.
I think it looks awesome, dude. And your trucks are super unique. I don't know. I mean, your trucks look crazy.
Thanks.
Like the cabs, yeah, they look awesome, dude. But are they all old? Like, are they rehabs or do you design them?
So we did the retrofit on that 1962. That was that blue one.
Mhm.
And then the newest one, that white and black, we built that from the frame rails up.
Awesome.
Honestly, we needed to find a frame rail manufacturer. Big shout out to Kenworth. Kenworth, like we were looking for frame rails, and Kenworth's like, hey guys, this is where we get the frame rails from. They're like, don't buy them from us. Like, just go directly to the factory and get the frame rails. Here's their name. It's PG Adams out of Vermont. They'll do a setup for you. And like, so we had support in the industry. Like, people came out to support us. Like, man, the trucking industry is like super supportive amongst each other. Like, what
awesome,
what other manufacturer reaches out and be like, hey guys, here's our supplier. Please go use them. We love what you're doing.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a good feeling when you're first getting started, like a big guy like Kenworth, doing something like that for you.
Yeah, I've always owned Kenworth. That's what I've always bought. After the support we've gotten from Kenworth in Edison, yeah, I'll always buy a Kenworth.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of truckers on this podcast. Like, we've had quite a few on, and they're all always say right down the line, Kenworth. They all love them.
Oh, fantastic trucks.
Yeah. So you talk about like the investors wanting you to like, I don't know, rush your plan along and hire CFOs, blah, blah, blah. So your business plan is right on your website, right?
That's right.
This is your build plan. Step 1, build prototype, done. Step 2, build first production truck, done. Step 3, limited production with partners, started. Yeah. So you are so the investors that are in, the partners that are in, you are building them trucks right now.
That's right. Yep. We're building 10 trucks right now. The first 3 frame rails have just been laid.
Awesome, dude. And so I wanted to ask you about step 4, which is Edison truck production. What's your plan to get this truck like really out there?
Well, I wanted to go over like the custom vocation. Start there. A lot of people don't know it, and they're like, man, it must take hundreds of millions of dollars to start production. You need a big facility, a production line. And what a lot of people don't know is like the Western Star 6900 XD, the Kenworth C500, a lot of them are still bay-built truck. Well, they don't make the 6900 XD, but the Kenworth C500, Kenworth will still build one of those trucks in a bay with a team of mechanics. And like it's a very small production line. It's not this big rolling line like the Cascadia is, because they only make like, I don't know, I think it's like 400 trucks per year, 500 C500 models per year. They're heavy spec vocational trucks that are all custom built. Like, if you're pulling a dry van, Kenworth knows that, or Freightliner knows that those Cascadias, they're going to sell 20,000 Cascadias of the exact same truck with the exact same wheelbase with the same motor transmission. And if you're going to build 10, 20,000, you can put them on a production line. But with the C500 and the heavy vocational, every single truck is really different. You got triple frame, tri-drives, tri-steers, like all the variables change. So they just build them by hand because you can't put them on a production line. Well, fuck, if they're building them by hand, I can compete building them by hand. Like, there's no big competitive advantage. So we'll start with building those custom trucks for the companies that want to order custom trucks and don't mind paying a premium for a custom truck. There's already a market for that. We'll start there. We'll get those trucks out. And if it's going well, we'll basically let the customers, we'll probably assess the market, see how many trucks we can actually sell, make sure we can make a profit. Nicola. Make sure to make a profit. Make sure we have the customer base and do a limited production run over like 3 years where you do like 20 trucks a year. 3-4 years, you get the kinks out of them. You know the trucks are working good. Then you go to the market. Then you raise the $100-200 million. Then you build the large production facility that does 5,000, 6,000 trucks per year. But it takes you time to get there. You can't just hop to the end stage.
Yeah. So right now, say one of the partners called you, hey, I need a truck. From start to finish, like from the time he makes that phone call to the time he gets a truck, how long does it take you at this point?
I don't know. It depends on the parts get in. They hate that answer. But honestly, like right now, like we built Topsy. Once we had the parts, we got Topsy built in about 3 months.
Did you say Topsy?
Yeah, we named it Topsy.
That's the elephant. That's the elephant that Edison used to kill with the AC electric.
Yeah, we named our truck after the elephant that Thomas Edison electrocuted.
Yeah, that's badass, dude. I love that.
It's kind of like you're like, okay, Thomas Edison himself was actually kind of a dick. So like we'll acknowledge the fact that like he did some dickheadish things, and like out of respect for the elephant, we'll name our first truck after the elephant, and it's got like an elephant hood emblem on it.
Oh, that's bad to the bone, dude. I like that.
Yeah.
So are you just doing these semis, or are you planning on getting into like, triaxles or anything like that?
So yeah, we're doing the full size semi trucks, and then so many people reached out to us and asked us to do like a pickup truck for the same reason. It's like we're not going to build a new pickup truck because that's insane level of like to go through FMVSS on a passenger car. I would rather start a shotgun than do that process. But we're like, well, we can retrofit it. It's like a Ford F5 450, F550. It's got a solid axle. Like you got a solid Dana 80 axle front and rear. Like on the semi truck, so the retrofits, we just drop the rear axle out. We put the electric axle in. You drop the transmission, put a generator on, and then where the drive shaft goes and the frame rails, you bolt a couple batteries up there. Well, we can use the same batteries, but instead of having 6 batteries for a semi truck, we'll just put 2 batteries in a pickup. Instead of having 4 inverters, we just need 2 inverters. So it's like we'll use the exact same inverters. We'll use basically the electric motor changes. Obviously, the axle's smaller, but we can use the same batteries, same inverters, same power distribution setup, same 3-in-1. So we can use the same parts, and we just put smaller axles in a pickup truck. So once we realized we could do that, so many people asked for it that I'm like, well, if you guys are interested and you want to fund this thing, like we don't have a lot of resources, but so many people are asking. And we said, okay, I'll have to hire on a couple other people. So we said, well, you can reserve a thing for a pickup for $250. And we ended up getting enough money that we could hire 3 dedicated people to work on that pickup truck, and just find the pickup axles and we're now building like 4 pickup truck retrofits right now. And then hopefully that kit goes well. We hired a whole team for that. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, that's really cool, man.
Well, I want a kit that people can work on. I hate the way electric vehicles are going. I don't like the planned obsolescence. I don't like the fact that you can't work on any of the vehicles. So we'll make a good DIY kit or a good kit that any small mom and pop shop can install, and they can take that. They can install those kits into people's trucks. And then if you got an older truck, like an old square body Chevy, and you want to keep it on the road, well, we can make it a hybrid. Like you don't have to go out and buy a $120,000 Ford Lightning.
Yeah,
so
you don't need a battery at all for your trucks.
What's that? Sorry?
You don't need a battery at all for the trucks.
You don't need batteries. You do need batteries for that peak load demand and the regen braking.
But it's not as big of a battery.
It's not nearly as big as a battery. No, you don't need anywhere the size of a battery of a full electric, because you're not trying to get 6 hours, 8 hours of driving out of it. Like you're not trying to get 500 miles of range. All you're trying to do is get like 100 miles of range. You're just trying to get those peak low. You're just trying to make the whole drive line more efficient. You're not trying to drive forever. Like, yes, it makes sense to have like 100 miles of range, 100 kilometers of range, whatever. Because the average person, when they go to work, they probably drive like 20, 30 kilometers to work. They drive 20 kilometers home. You can do 40, 50 kilometers of electric. You never even have to fill it up. Then when you go do a longer drive, you just fire up the generator. Like that should be the whole goal, really.
Yeah. So it's not as big of a deal to replace like the batteries that are on your trucks as it would
No,
be, for example, a Tesla.
no, because it's number one, we're using common off-the-shelf sizes. There's like standardist battery sizes. We're not building
Oh,
our own custom batteries. You can go to CDTL, CAT, like CTS. You can go to a battery manufacturer and be like, I want the standard battery pack, and just drop it in and like switch it over and change the. You might have to change the BMS, but you could go
wow.
get another pack and change it. The packs aren't as big, so they're not as expensive. And then the other advantage too, though, is a hybrid. One of the biggest issues is that the battery packs degrade over time. So in like 15 years, 10 to 15 years, you may only have like 50% battery capacity. So you started with a 100 kilowatt hour battery. 10 years later, you actually realistically only have like a 50 kilowatt hour battery. Now that's super annoying if you're full electric because, well, you don't have the range that you did. You used to be able to do 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers driving. Now you can only do 100. So now I can't go to the next city and back. Well, obviously that sucks. I'm going to have to switch that.
Mhm.
In a hybrid right now is like you can get like 2 hours of driving. You fire up the generator, it runs for an hour, it shuts off, you get 2 hours of driving. If you have 50% capacity, it just means that you're going to drive instead of for 2 hours, you drive for 1 hour. Then you fire up the generator for half an hour, and then you drive for an hour. So instead of 2 hours driving, 1 hour generator, you get 1 hour driving, half hour generator. It's just like you have a smaller battery pack in the vehicle. So you're not going to notice it as much in the hybrid because it's not affecting your range.
Yeah, that's like I feel like every wife's argument against electric vehicles is well, what happens when we go on vacation? And it's like what happens when we want to drive across the country? And it's like, dude, we've never driven across the country. Like, why? Like, we're just gonna start now because we have an electric vehicle. Like, how many times are we gonna run into this issue that we're just not gonna make a decision based on that? You know?
I mean, we went down to Texas there a little while ago, and I got a free upgrade to a Tesla, which is kind of sweet. Until we realized, like, I had to drive 800 miles, and we had to stop like 3, 4 times along the journey. They're like, "Hey, this is annoying. Like, I can only eat so much fucking Bucky's brisket here."
So I guess the
Like,
wives have a point. Yeah.
like it was kind of annoying. And like the one
Yeah.
time you're like, we're cruising at night, and we're like, we had to leave Nacogdoches and drive back to Austin. And like leave Nacogdoches at like 9 o'clock at night, and we're like, "Fuck, we're not going to be there." But like the last thing you want is when you're 1 o'clock in the morning, pulling over for half an hour and just sitting there for
Yeah.
half an hour while you recharge. You're like, "I'm just tired. I want to get to the hotel." Like that.
Yeah.
Is it a biggest thing that we're like? Would I find it annoying if I had to do the odd trip once a month? Probably not, but it'd sure be nicer to fire up the generator and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Rock on. So I gotta ask, dude, has Elon Musk caught wind of this?
I don't know. I
Are you on
wonder. Like,
X?
I really wonder if he knows about us or not. Like, someone had to been like, "Hey, there's some trucker in
He
Canada
has
starting
to,
a company
dude.
called Edison,"
Yeah. Your tagline's like fuck Tesla, dude.
right? I mean,
Dude, I
I like
honestly think
Tesla.
I think he would really like what you're doing, man. Like just from what I know, I don't know nothing about him besides like his Joe Rogan interviews, but you know, he
Yeah,
seems like the type of guy who would appreciate it.
from what I've seen of him, like,
Yeah.
I'd like to hope so. Like, he seems like I actually genuinely like as much as we make fun of the Edison Motors, fuck Tesla. I genuinely like Elon. Like, I think he was a visionary. He got like he didn't actually start Tesla. He bought it. He bought it when it was worth nothing and built it into a massive empire.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of good attitudes on business, and he like I don't know. I get the feeling. I hope that he likes us. It's probably why we haven't gotten sued over our tagline yet.
Yeah, I think you might be right. So it's getting close to 7 o'clock your time, 10 o'clock my time here. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
gonna
got to
have
ask
to get
before
out
you
of
go.
here relatively quickly.
You
But
mentioned Vancouver. You a Canucks fan?
yeah, you.
Opening night tomorrow night. Flyers are coming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's our neck of the woods coming to your neck of the woods. So
I don't know. I got disheartened after that, like 2010 with the Stanley Cup and like last game, and then just choked on it. Like, but Vancouver hasn't won the Stanley Cup in like over 110 years. Like, it's like we're due for a comeback. It's been
yeah,
over 110 years since Vancouver's won the Stanley Cup. Like, I don't know if I can wait that long.
Yeah, they got to represent, dude. Yeah, it's been a while for the Flyers too, but they weren't even around 150 years ago. But
I mean, literally, it was 1916 when we won I think it was 1916 when we won the Stanley Cup in Vancouver.
It was the Millionaires, not even.
It wasn't even the Canucks, yeah. But like basically that. Do you know it was World War One when Canada was serving in World War One? The only time Vancouver had a chance at the Stanley Cup was when there was 4 other teams in the NHL, and they're like, "Oh wow, every other team went to war. This is our chance, boys." Everyone that was confident signed up and got drafted to the military. Just a bunch of like pacifists in Vancouver beating like 4 other teams of like crippled people that couldn't get drafted or some shit. Like,
I'm over here feeling bad about like the Eagles and the Phillies but yeah, I feel you, dude. That sucks. That's brutal.
yeah.
So yeah, dude, man, I can't thank you enough for just like your time and just being able to talk to you and meet you, man. It's great meeting you.
Yeah,
you're as cool as I imagined you'd be. Yeah.
Oh, it's been great. I had a lot of fun chatting with you there, Steve.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my eye out for that truck though.
You betcha. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to start these new builds. Like, honestly, like as much as I like the design of Topsy was cool, the new trucks with the twin seats, but like a traditional cab, I'm a big fan of the new style.
Yeah. Yeah, they're awesome.
So,
well, dude,
follow the journey, the build. We'll show how we're building all these trucks. We'll show you how all the batteries are going in, how all the electronics work as we go, and what all the parts are.
your page is awesome, dude. I love the way you kind of document everything you're doing. I think everything you're doing is the right way, from not selling out to the investors to just doing everything like, step by step, not taking, just doing everything like trucker style, not EV style. Like, everything you said is like super impressive, man. I wish you all the luck in the world, man. I hope Tesla's a thing of the past, and Edison Motors rises.
I like Tesla, but like fuck Nikola.
Yeah. I hear you, bro.
All right, man. Well, I gotta run here, but I'll catch you later.
Yeah, great talking to you, man. Thank you.
Thank you.